We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is August 19th, 2024. Had today off. It was a pretty chill day. Me and Sammy went down to Harrodsburg to go to Pioneer Days over at Fort Herod. So that was pretty cool. Got some popcorn, got some pepper jack, deep fried pepper jack poppers with marinara. She got some pulled pork. Yeah, just went and checked out the little booths, little shops, chilled out, and came back home, went to bed. Today's episode, I actually was not expecting to do this episode. We're actually going to cover Matthew Perry again, which go check out the previous episode. I think it's called, Leave the World Behind, The Friends Rabbit Hole, or something along those lines. So go check that one out to get the full conspiracy theory. But there's actually been an update with Matthew Perry, which is insane. And it was just like, I didn't even mean for this to happen, but it just happened. So I feel like today's episode is kind of meant to be. So, Matthew Perry assistant and doctors charged with getting him ketamine. 5 people have been charged with a conspiracy, no pun intended, to distribute the powerful anesthetic that led to the death of the Friends star. 3 of them are pleading guilty. Matthew Perry's personal assistant, 2 doctors, and 2 others have been indicted and charged with providing the ketamine that caused the death of Mr. Perry, a star on the television show Friends, the authorities said on Thursdays. In documents filed in federal court in California, prosecutors said that Matthew Perry's assistant and an acquaintance had worked with 2 doctors and a drug dealer to procure tens of thousands of dollars worth of ketamine for Mr. Perry, who had long struggled with substance abuse and addiction. I've actually never done ketamine. I know I've heard about the K-hole and what it does to you. Like, it sounds pretty trippy. I don't think it's not something I have the desire to try personally. There's still a couple drugs out there, I'm not going to lie, that I would try, but I don't know. It just sounds weird, and I've seen what it did to, like, Steve-O from Jackass, and I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. The actor who gained sitcom superstardom as Chandler Bing on Friends was discovered floating face down in a hot tub at his home in the Los Angeles on October 28th. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office said in an autopsy report that Mr. Perry, 54, had died of acute effects of ketamine. An indictment filed in federal court on Wednesday detailed grand jury charges against Jasveen Sangha, who the prosecutors said was known as the Ketamine Queen, and Dr. Salvador Plasencia, who was known as Dr. P. Ms. Sangha maintained a stash house in North Hollywood, the indictment said, and Dr. Plasencia, a physician at an urgent care center, was among those who worked to get the ketamine to Mr. Perry despite knowing he had a history of drug abuse. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, and they take oaths for that shit, too. They're supposed to take an oath to do no harm, basically. But during COVID, we know those oaths don't even matter anymore. And I don't even think they make them take Hippocratic oath anymore, which is sad. Court documents say that Mr. Perry's personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, injected him with at least 27 shots of ketamine in the 5 days leading up to his death. So, playing devil's advocate, that might be why he was posting all that strange shit, was 27 shots of ketamine, so he could have been going a little kooky. What do you guys think? I just like to use Occam's razor, be a realist, and play devil's advocate, so you guys know how I am. So, 27 shots, including at least 3 on the day that he died. An indictment said that the defendants used coded language to discuss drug deals, referring to bottles of ketamine as Dr. Pepper, cans, and bots. And it is said that when Dr. Placencia texted with another doctor about how much to charge Mr. Perry for ketamine, he wrote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay. Let's find out." Oh, that just makes me sad. And it just shows you how evil people are, that they're just literally calling this guy a fucking moron, you know. Ketamine, a powerful anesthetic with psychedelic properties, is increasingly being used as an alternative therapy for depression, anxiety, and other mental health problems. It is also used and abused recreationally. 3 people have already pleaded guilty in the case, officials said. Mr. Iwamasa pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine causing death. Dr. Mark Chavez, who admitted to selling ketamine to Dr. Placencia, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine. Dr. Chavez obtained ketamine by making false representations to a wholesale ketamine distributor and by submitting a fraudulent prescription in the name of a former patient, officials said. So, fudging the books. Eric Fleming, an acquaintance of Mr. Perry's, pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine and 1 count of distribution of ketamine resulting in death, officials said. They said he admitted to obtaining the ketamine from Mr. Sangha and distributing 50 vials of ketamine to Mr. Iwamasa. "We are sending a clear message," Martin Estrada, the United States Attorney for the Central District of California, said at a Thursday news conference in downtown Los Angeles. "If you are in the business of selling dangerous drugs, we will hold you accountable for the deaths that you cause." The charges against Mr. Sangha and Dr. Placencia include conspiracy to distribute ketamine, distribution of ketamine resulting in death, possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine. Oh, so meth was involved too. And altering and falsifying records related to a federal investigation. If they are convicted, Mr. Sangha, 41, faces between 10 years and life in prison, while Dr. Placencia, 42, faces up to 10 years in prison for each ketamine-related count and up to 20 years for each count of falsifying records. So these guys are going to get the book thrown at them, it sounds like. On Thursday afternoon, prosecutors announced that both Ms. Sangha and Dr. Placencia had been arraigned and had pleaded not guilty. A judge ordered Ms. Sangha jailed without bond and set Dr. Placencia's bond at $100,000. Their trials were scheduled for October. Mr. Iwamasa, 59, faces up to 15 years in prison, and Mr. Fleming, 54, up to 25 years in prison. Dr. Chavez, 54, has been charged in an information pursuant to a plea agreement and will be arraigned on August 30th. he faces up to 10 years in federal prison. So we're definitely going to have to get back into this and do an update and stuff, even if we are done with the whole Leave the World Behind series. So we'll have to look back into this around October. So 2 more months. Attempts to reach the defendants were not immediately successful. Ann Milgram, the head of the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration, said at the news conference that Mr. Perry had sought treatment for depression and anxiety and, after visiting a local clinic, had become addicted to intravenous ketamine. Which is sad, man, because as someone who suffers from mental illness, specifically depression, I think I have MDD is what they said. It was massive depressive disorder. Yeah, I mean, all you want to do is just feel better, whether it's with alcohol, with weed, with any drug, really. It's a sad downward spiral. Mr. Perry wrote about his history of drug and alcohol addiction in a memoir. Officials declined to explain whether the ketamine treatment he initially received was legitimate and would not say how he became connected to Dr. Plasencia and Dr. Chavez. Quote, when clinic doctors refused to increase his dosage, he turned to unscrupulous doctors who saw Perry as a way to make quick money. Ms. Milgram said of the actor, Dr. Plasencia and Dr. Chavez violated the oath they took to care for their patients. Instead of do no harm, they did harm so that they could make more money. Yep, that's what I just said. The autopsy report said that Mr. Perry had been on ketamine infusion therapy, but that the level of ketamine found in his blood was equivalent to the amount that would be used during general anesthesia. That's not good. As someone who's gotten their wisdom teeth taken out and put down, yeah, he was fucked up, it sounds like then. Dr. Plasencia was accused in the indictment of misleading officials about Mr. Perry's treatment. The prosecutors said he provided a falsified document purportedly showing the medical treatment plan for victim MP that claimed he was being given a maximum dose of 60 milligrams over 24 hours. They added that, quote, in fact, as Defendant Plasencia then well knew, Defendant Plasencia injected victim MP with ketamine dosages far in excess of 60 milligrams. The police in Los Angeles acknowledged this year that they were working with the DEA to investigate the source of Mr. Perry's ketamine and whether it was obtained legally. The United States Postal Inspection Service assisted with the investigation. The Postal Service will not be an unwitting accomplice to anyone using the U.S. mail to distribute illegal drugs or drug paraphernalia, said Matthew Shields, the acting inspector in charge of the Service's Los Angeles Division. In the weeks leading to Mr. Matthew Perry's death, the indictment and law enforcement officials said Dr. Plasencia sold roughly $55,000 worth of ketamine to Mr. Iwamasa and personally injected Mr. Perry with the drug at Mr. Perry's residence. During one visit, a large dose caused Mr. Perry to quote-unquote freeze up. So the K-hole, I'm guessing. Prosecutor said, causing the doctor to advise against a similarly sized injection in the future. Dr. Plasencia also injected Mr. Perry with ketamine while inside a vehicle in a public parking lot in Long Beach, California, according to court papers. Man, I hope he wasn't driving home after that. At one point, the doctors charged Mr. Perry $2,000 for a vial of ketamine that cost Dr. Chavez roughly $12, Ms. Milgram said. Court documents also outline the days leading up to Mr. Perry's death. Mr. Fleming, who shared a mutual friend with Mr. Perry, texted him offering to sell him ketamine for a quote-unquote good price, as long as he received a Fair tip for bringing it. Mr. Fleming later told Mr. Iwamasa that his source, Ms. Sangha, dealt with high-end celebrities. I guarantee it's going to be amazing, Mr. Fleming texted Iwamasa. Mr. Fleming delivered a sample vial to Mr. Perry's home, and then Mr. Iwamasa agreed to buy 25 vials, advancing Mr. Fleming $500 for logistics. He delivered 25 more vials on October 24th, 4 days before Mr. Perry's death. In March, Ms. Sangha was charged with possession of methamphetamine with the intent to distribute. She has pleaded not guilty. Law enforcement raided her home in North Hollywood that month, seizing 79 bottles of liquid ketamine and nearly 2,000 grams of methamphetamine pills, along with other drugs, according to court documents. So I guess you could do methamphetamine in a pill form. I didn't know that. I know you could shoot it, snort it, smoke it, but I didn't know they had it in pill form. Interesting. The two doctors charged in Mr. Perry's death have known each other for years. One of them said in a post on social media, Dr. Chavez has built a brand for himself as what he calls the Health MD, describing himself online as a longevity coach. Oh, yeah, very longevity, killing your patients. As a longevity coach, medical doctor, entrepreneur, and fitness trailblazer. Having started his career as a medical chemist, Dr. Chavez recently listed himself as a medical director at a company specializing in regenerative medicine. Yeah, regenerative. Definitely regenerative when it kills your patient. His website offers a 12-week weight loss program for $1,500 involving the drug Ozempic. Which, dude, Ozempic is fucking people up. Y'all need to look into that, man. It's fucking crazy. Dr. Placencia described Dr. Chavez on LinkedIn as a mentor of his for 15 years, writing that Dr. Chavez had been extremely helpful to me as I navigated my own path as a medical entrepreneur. So we're going to wrap it up there on the whole Matthew Perry update. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to actually continue talking about Matthew Perry. So please do check out the previous episode where we do a deep dive to get into the whole conspiratorial side of it. We got some time, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to read some more of Leave the World Behind with commentary. So stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. Chapter 27. Parenthood hardened you. Your task was upkeep of the body, and you understood what that entailed. The slight of vomit once made her wretch, but her children's, Amanda faced it. Crisis made her rational. She called to Clay. She washed her son's body just as she had when he'd been a boy. When they were babies, Clay and Amanda played man-on-man defense. That first wretched winter, Clay would take Archie to the New York City Transit Museum, an indoor attraction, but always very cold, since it was built in an old subway station. Amanda would pace the apartment with Rosie, desperate for the tit, listening to the album Bjork. Oh, by the way, I love fucking Bjork. Bjork is awesome, dude. Had made about how great it was to have sex with Matthew Barney. If she thought about it, Amanda could still hear the creak of the floorboard underfoot in that one spot near the kitchen. If he thought about it, Clay could still see the trains from a more innocent era. Rattan seats, ceiling fans, parked on the museum's obsolete tracks. Amanda stripped the soiled bedding. Clay took the boy to the living room. We have a thermometer. Ruth Prudent had stocked the bathroom. Analgesics for adults and children, bandages, iodine, saline, petroleum jelly. That would be great. Clay helped the boy into the too big sweatshirt. He smothered his mussed hair. He sat beside him on the sofa and then looked toward the back of the house at the drama of the rain filling the swimming pool. Maternal muscle memory was strong. Ruth returned with supplies. Let's take his temperature. So too was paternal instinct. GH helped Ruth find the hidden stores, icing sugar, tubes of decorative gels, birthday candles, sprinkles rattling in plastic jars. Rose was not fooled, but happy enough to be diverted. They coaxed the cake onto a plate, and she spun it expertly beneath the spatula, stationary, thick with frosting. Thank you, Clay said. Ruth held the boy's chin, placed the point of the glass tube beneath his tongue. You do feel warm, but let's just see how warm. How do you feel now, bud? Clay relied on these masculine affections when he was most worried. He'd already asked. Archie had already answered. He wanted to put an arm around him, wanted to fold him into his body, but the boy wouldn't like that because the boy was nearly a man. I'm fine, Archie mumbled through the thermometer, unable to achieve his characteristic adolescence disdain. Ruth studied the inscrutable instrument. 102. Not so bad, not so good. Drink your water, pal. Clay pressed the glass into the boy's hands. Take these. Ruth shook out 2 Tylenol just as GH and Rose were peppering the cake with sugar confetti, a nice little duet. Archie did as he was bid. He held a sip of the liquid in his mouth, then put the pills into that. He swallowed and tried to tell if his throat was tender. He wanted to watch television or go back to his house or lose himself in his phone, but none of these were possible. So he just sat there saying nothing. I'm going to help Amanda. Ruth was pleased to have a problem to solve, or a problem that she might solve. You just rest here. Finding the bathtub full of the water that was meant to save their lives, Amanda took the soiled sheets to the master bathroom, rinsed the mercifully watery vomit in the tilted shower. She squeezed them as dry as she could, twisting the cotton until she feared it would rend. She was angry, and this was something to do with that feeling. She dried her hands and went into the bedroom. How quickly they spread out. A tangle of dirty underwear, used paper napkin, magazine, glass of water, all these little signs that they existed and endured. It's called the laws of inertia. Trees marked their lives in rings that can't be seen. People in the garbage they left everywhere. A way of insisting on their own importance. Amanda began writing the room. Knock, knock. Ruth said it like a character in a television show as she strode down the hall and into the room. Laundry basket at her hip. I don't mean to interrupt. I thought I might do the wash anyway, though. Amanda performed a kind of curtsy for some reason. Well, it was the woman's room. I'm sorry, I can do Archie's sheets. Don't be sorry, just throw them in here. He seems fine. A temperature 102. 102? It sounds high, but you know, they are high when they are kids. Those showroom new immune systems working overtime. I gave him some Tylenol. Thank you. You can put your clothes in there too. While the power is still on. It was too intimate, but Ruth had foresight. It would save them the trek to the laundromat when they got home. Amanda did not know that the laundromat was closed. She did not know that the Chinese man who ran it was inside the elevator that carried the passengers between the turnstiles and the platform at the R station in Brooklyn Heights. And he'd been there for hours, and he'd die there, though that was many hours in the future yet. That's smart, thank you. They considered each other like they were meant to duel. Maybe that was inevitable. Ruth pitied the woman. She knew that was required of her and hated it. She had to pretend her way to being a good person. But what about Maya and the boys? You could stay if you wanted. The little house as a life raft, ignorance as a kind of knowing. This did not seduce Amanda. An eternity as though they were granted with these people. Part of her still wondered whether this wasn't a con or a delusion. It was torture, a home invasion without rape or guns. Still, this woman was the nearest an ally Amanda had. She shook her head. Archie needs a doctor. What if we all do? What if it's inside of us? What if something is beginning or everything is ending? This subtext was inescapable. People kept calling the Amazon the planet's lungs. Waist-deep water was lapping against Venetian marble, and tourists were smiling and taking snapshots. It was like some tacit agreement. Everyone had ceded to things just falling apart. That it was common knowledge that things were bad surely meant they were actually worse. Ruth wasn't this kind of person, but she could feel disease blooming inside of her body. It was everywhere, inescapable. I can't think about what we don't know. I need to focus on this. Archie needs a doctor. I'll take him to a doctor tomorrow morning. But you're afraid. I'm afraid. That's not getting us anywhere. I can't stay here. I can't hide. I'm his mother. What else can we do? Ruth sat on the bed's edge. She couldn't go to town or beyond the Northampton. She wanted to just lie in her bed. I guess you're right. Say something to make me feel better. Amanda was searching for friendship or humanity or reassurance or relief. Ruth crossed her legs and looked up at her. I can't do that. Comforting. Amanda was immediately disappointed. Maybe I need it. Comforting. She was eager to wash the clothes, the neutral smell of the soap, the thunder of the water. So I can't provide it. But stay. I think you should. I think it makes sense. Even if I can't make you feel better, I can't say something wise and churchy for you. I know you can't. At least you have your children here with you. I don't know what's happening to my daughter. I don't know what's happening to my grandsons. We don't know anything about the world. That is what it is. Amanda knew this was the way it had always been. She couldn't help but wish it were otherwise. Her clothes smelled of her son's vomit, and the air smelled of her daughter's cake. Let's eat something. I'm going to take a shower, and then we should eat something. I think it will help. No, that wasn't quite it. I can't think of anything else to do. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up there, because it's about a minute for intro and outro theme song, and the next chapter's pretty long, it looks like. So this should be hit about a 30-minute episode. But yeah, go check out that previous episode I did, Leave the World Behind. The Friends Rabbit Hole, I think is what it's called. It gets into the whole Matthew Perry conspiracy, gets into Doja Cat, Julia Roberts, Illuminati sacrifice, all that type of crazy stuff. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed, and you all have an awesome day.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.